right, welcome back to CBY Spotlight. We're fortunate to be joined tonight by our member, Jake Lewin. Jake, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And it's after a long day's work, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Jake, have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have, actually.
What podcast were you on?
My friend Alex Chester and Akiva Wienerker, they have their own podcast called 32 Fans. And every year they try to have one of the 32 fans or the 32 football teams. They have fans that are fans of those teams. So I've been the guest for the Indianapolis Colts for the last 6, 7, 8 years.
You're a Colts fan?
I am a Colts fan, that's correct.
I guess that's something that we'll get into over the course of this interview.
Yeah.
Before we get into any of the Indianapolis history, the purpose of this podcast is to get members of our shul, or to give them an opportunity to know each other. It's a very large shul. There are a lot of members. It's hard to get to know everyone. So before we get into anything else, can you just introduce yourself, your wife, your kids, your family to the B'nai Sherm membership?
Sure. As you heard, I'm Jake Lewin. I'm originally from Indianapolis. We live in Teaneck. I have 3 kids. My wife, Dina, is a teacher at Yeshiva Noam. She's been there for 14, 15, or 16 years. I don't even think she remembers. And my son is 6, my oldest, and I have 2 girls, 4 and 2.
Fantastic. How long have you been at B'nai Sherm?
As a member, I think almost a year, approximately a year. We lived in Teaneck. We went to different shuls. We started in the apartments, and we started coming here about a year ago.
And how's B'nai Sherm treating you so far?
I mean, in this context, it's been great. No problems at all.
In this context, you mean in front of the rabbis?
Of course, yeah.
Right, and after the cameras go off, you'll give us the real answer to that question.
Yeah, of course. There has to be some controversy. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I see you frequently in the 9:15 minyan. So you like that? Any thoughts on the minyan there? Or?
It works for time slot. I mean, generally, I liked when I was younger, when my kids were younger, when I was single. I used to like going to Hashkava minyans because I'm usually up pretty early. Now it's mostly about finding a time that works for groups. I have friends there. It's quick, so I can't complain about that. So far it's been really good. Yeah.
Okay. Any advice to help us? It's a great minyan, but sometimes a little bit talkative. And they're always looking to the rabbis. I don't think you're one of the talkers. I really don't.
I'm more of a listener.
Yeah.
More of a listener.
It's important to be a listener, too.
Yeah, I like to be a listener. I'm an observer.
Okay.
I don't think it's as talkative as other shuls I've been to. I mean, maybe... I don't find it as reprehensible as maybe it's... as others might. I think that it's relatively... The decorum is pretty sound for the most part. And that it's quick. I think it keeps the attention span of people. Of course there's going to be talking, being gavra gavra, whatever it might be. But
Ben bracha bracha and kriya shema.
I don't know that.
Or Shmona Esrei.
Usually, I think people have those spots are okay. I think the tipping point is really after Haftorah through Musaf. It's more talking at that point. But there's more people there.
It's a very different vibe report than we've been getting otherwise. All right, this is very positive. We'll give you your check.
I've been to worse minyanim that have much more like egregious type of talking. I don't think it's like it's the I wouldn't describe it as just a talking type minyan. Those exist and.
Can you name those shul? No, I'm joking. No.
Well, the cameras are off. Cameras are off.
Now, there's actually an interesting minhag that your son started at Parent-Child Learning. Can you shed some light on that for the membership?
I can. It's really, really special. So my son, Sammy, is he started getting into telling jokes, and I'd say 99% of them are terrible. But I'll tell you, the start of it really became that, you, Rabbi Schreier, and my son tell each other, corny Jewish jokes. Sometime during Shabbos, usually as a Parent-Child Learning.
Hilarious Jewish jokes.
They're all, usually Rabbi Schreier's are very hilarious, and Sammy's are fine. No, it's really cute that my son gets so much excitement for it, and that's, as I mentioned before, it really makes us feel we're part of the community, part of the shul. And those little acts that maybe at the time don't really seem like so much, that's become such a important thing to our family and especially to my son. And now, like, there was one week where you were unable to do it. You were gone. I think you weren't feeling well. You took a nap, whatever it was, and then you called afterwards, 2 days later, to go on a back and forth with a joke with Sammy, and I thought it was really special.
Well, I heard how devastated he was when.
Yeah, he was, and it's cool that he has that. And that's really, even though he's 6, and even though he's still, obviously a lot of growth is going to come, but it's amazing how he already feels a connection to the shul more so. Like even my 4-year-old Annie, who was 3 when we were going to parent-child learning, right? Weinberger, I think she really had a crush on you at the very beginning. I don't know if it stayed anymore. I think it might have moved to Rabbi Schreier now that he's the big joke teller.
But he has the corny jokes. I have the funny jokes. So the
I'll stick with the 4-year-old humor. I'll be the rest of Rabbi Weinberger.
Right. So it's nice to have like these presences in our life that they have, even though obviously there's the interaction is at that level, but they really feel a connection to a rabbi and a community at their level, and they really appreciate it. And we appreciate it even more just to see it.
We appreciate the love. We were not doing this to make this fawning over us or B'nai Shurin, but you can't help yourself.
I can't help.
We understand.
The presence of, of course.
He's a really special kid, and I already have my joke prepared for this Shabbos.
He does not.
He does not. So you better get him ready because I've already got my material prepared. But as I've told you in the past, I do spend more time on that joke than I do on my weekly drasha.
But I think once we broach the issue, let's just share one, the podiatrist one. I think that was
that one. No, I'm not sharing any of those. For the record,
I'm trying to throw you under the bus. Like this is what he's working.
My best one was this past week. So you grew up in Indianapolis. I always tell people that I have an extraordinarily unexciting life story. I grew up in the 5 towns, went through modern Orthodox schools, learned for a year in Israel, went to YU, ended up in Teaneck. It's remarkably unexotic. Coming from Indianapolis is a little bit more interesting, especially in Teaneck, in a mainstream tri-state area, modern Orthodox community. Can you reflect on what it was like growing up in Indianapolis? How was the Midwest different from the tri-state area? What were your experiences, and what brought you to Teaneck?
That's a lot of questions to answer in one shot. So my family grew up in Indianapolis. We grew up very traditional. Like we went to an Orthodox synagogue, but would come home and go to like baseball games on Shabbos afternoon. We would walk to shul, but it was kind of it wasn't a classic, reform, like a conservative type of growing up. We really did try, whatever we did like Kedas U'Kedin. Like our house was kosher, and we would eat non-kosher out. So we grew up in that kind of vibe. I think Indianapolis you might think there's not a lot of not a lot going on Yiddishkeit wise. There's actually a lot of Jews there, just not a lot of Orthodox Jews. So we grew up there, and at a certain point in time, I guess I felt inclined to be a little more observant than my family was. And I graduated. I went to a Jewish day school, but it was non-denominational, day school. There's religious parents, there's non-religious parents, kids that are, one friend of mine, his mother had converted Reform, but they don't, there's no distinguish, if you have any Jewish connection, they're usually accepted into the school. And I somehow positioned myself to be able to go to Skokie Yeshiva in Chicago for high school. My cousins were living in Chicago. My older cousin had actually gone there, so I was familiar with the place, and I went there for high school, and then it kind of just snowballed. Went to Shalom, went to YU, when I went to law school here, and then I ended up when I got married, we moved to Teaneck.
You speak rather humbly about yourself as a student. I don't know if you remember, we actually had a chavrusa.
We did.
Okay, so from my perspective, things are like more legendary when you're younger. But my older brother Dov, who is a year younger than you in Shalvin,
yes,
came back. Oh, there's this great learner, Jake Lewin. He's very smart. He's great. He's in YU, and he had the idea, or my mother had the idea, that I in MTA should start learning with you. So
yeah.
Pat on the back. I was in 10th grade. I had JV basketball practice 8 to 10, and at 10 o'clock we would learn. In the old base, the Zeissman base, I don't remember.
Back then it was the main base mentor.
Yeah. My mother used to come at 11 o'clock to pick me up, so also props to her.
I don't remember all the details of it. God save me if I can remember what we even learned.
I remember. All right. I see you didn't leave an impression.
No, you know what? It's funny when you look back at these moments.
We did Parsha. You just like open up the Parsha, and it's funny now. I'm like, yeah, I could do that. But back then, like, whoa, he just like knows all these permissions, and like, how does he know that Netziv?
Yeah, it's funny. Now it lost its luster. You're not impressed anymore. And then you were.
In hindsight,
no, it's like he wasn't such a good learner. He was just like a regular guy.
No, you were great. And no, but I didn't realize you didn't finish Yadin Yadin. But A, you have smicha.
Yes, I did
and
finish
B, you
smicha.
also began the Yadin Yadin process, which is a next. I don't know if everyone in our audience, as we say, we have a national audience, so I don't know if everybody's familiar with this. Don't laugh. So in case you're not, that's like a next level of learning for more of the Choshen Mishpat.
Yeah. So I guess the design of the YU Smicha, the standard, what do you want to call it? The Yora Yora is what most students who get Smicha at YU, that's the status, that's the level of Smicha that's given to you. The reason I considered and started the Yadin Yadin process was also opportunity and interest. I went to Cardozo Law School. I started Basar B'Chalev and Tarovis when I was in college. So my second year at YU, I finished YU in 5 semesters. I was a math major, so I was taking like 5 math classes. I was doing Basar B'Chalev. I was still in Rabbi Sachs's year. And it was like a lot. There was a lot going on. So Basar B'Chalev and Tarovis, like I did it, and I was able to like take that opportunity to do it. And then I was able to, do the other requirements so that I could finish while I was in law school. And then I finished my second year of law school, and I had a third year of law school. And Cardozo and YU have a obvious relationship. They're both Yeshiva University schools. I was able to get credit for learning Yadin Yadin at Cardozo. And Ryan Willig said he would give me an A because he thought it would help my GPA, but in reality, they just give you a pass. But at the time, he thought he was doing like, oh, I'm going to give him an A in law school. It's going to be great for him. But I said, listen, I have the time. Third year law school is a little bit lighter than it is like first year law school. That's usually reputationally known as the more rigorous year, the more important year, quote unquote. So I was like, you know what? This looks like an awesome opportunity. Let's do it. So me and Rabbi Moshe Stavsky, we learned Ribbis that year. And then the following year, I was looking for a job, and I graduated, so I started it. And then eventually I started doing Geirus with me and Rabbi Stavsky. So I got through like 2 curricula and then never really finished the whole process. And what's funny is that now that I'm on the practitioner side of being an attorney, I'm very often, having cases in front of Batei Din. Not just the Beis in America, other Batei Din, some in Muncie, some in Borough Park, in Lakewood. And it's funny because even though my Yiddish is horrific, which is the most important skill when you're doing Batei Din outside of the Beis in America, having the knowledge base, at least familiarizing myself with some of the concepts through Diana's program, and also just having the legal background, has given me a good opportunity to develop a client base and work in that situation. So it's funny, I was studying to be a Dayan, and now I'm on the opposite side of the of the desk. What do you want to call it?
Impressive. I mean, it's not standard. Neither of us. You don't have Yadin.
No, Rabbi Zaz has Yadin Yadin.
Yeah.
But you have more smicha than both of us.
Yeah, exactly.
I have, exactly.
Turn to Jake for all your issues, and we'll be glad to help.
Did you ever consider completing Yadin Yadin?
Dina the other day was like, "Why don't you just do it?" It's like so hard. Rabbi Reese, I guess I have a good relationship with him. I interned at the Beis in America, and I think he made it seem like, oh, it's totally reasonable. You could just work, bill 2,500 hours at a prestigious law firm, and then you could go learn Yadin Yadin at night, and just do it. And realize that's superhuman.
Other responsibilities, got podcasts to be on.
Children
to raise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Outside of your profession, do you have any hidden talents or areas of expertise?
I'm really good at trivia. Actually, very good at I'm not a Jeopardy savant. My dad is a Jeopardy savant, but I'm like a trivia night. I'm an excellent person to bring along.
Have you ever tried to get on one of these TV shows?
No, I've done the Jeopardy test, but you have to get every single one right.
If you could choose a different profession from the one that you are in, and money were not a factor, what would it be?
If I was like cooler and stronger, maybe like a Mossad spy, but yeah, not gonna happen.
What is your favorite book, movie, or TV series, and why?
The Wire.
The Wire.
The Wire.
Why?
Why? It's so rich. You love the bad characters and the good characters. It all ties together. All the pieces matter. That's the slogan of the show. It's just fantastic.
What is the most interesting place in the world you've ever been to?
I went to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Not a lot of people head out there, especially from like the Orthodox, community. But there's a small little shul there, and they asked me to go and lane on Rosh Hashanah and do all that kind of stuff. So I had to go there and hung around, and I actually did like a whole walk around the city. It was a pretty cool place.
Okay, we're gonna try something. We don't know if this is gonna translate well, but Jake is a Wordle player. We told him not to try today. We're gonna try CBY trivia, but given that you're a relatively new member, some of the CBY history is probably would be unfair to ask, despite you being a great trivia.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, so we decided we're gonna try to do a Wordle off. None of us have looked at today's Wordle. At least we claim we haven't asked anybody.
I have not.
And all right, I'll take your word. If we don't yet have a sponsor, but we expect to be picked up soon, and we'll have great prizes to offer, and we'll let you know then. But if you got to beat us outright, all right? So you got to beat us outright in the number.
It's not a tie like the.
We're not timing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not timing here. And if you beat us outright, then you might never get anything. You might get something. We'll see.
All right,
All right,
we'll
ready?
see.
Here we go.
You may
Free
be
membership.
able to pick one of the prizes from.
Free
yeah, you can
free
take them,
membership for a year.
Speak to the board. You got it. All right, here we go.
We starting?
Yeah. Do you always start with the same word?
I don't, but I feel like I have
start.
to start with my go-to,
Okay.
my general
To beat us,
word.
to beat us. I have 3 words I choose from, so let's see.
Oh, man.
Not great.
No, this is gonna be one of those words, isn't it?
What's up? 4.
4.
I'm gonna tie you probably.
Oh, yeah? I should have got it in 3.
I'm still on my 4th, but now I'm just
Pressure's
doing,
on.
Now I'm just doing it for pride. Oh, I'm so
You have 4
annoyed.
also?
I got
You got
it
it?
in 4.
Oh, all
You got it
right.
in 4?
I got it in 4.
It's a 3-way
Alas.
tie. Well, at this point, it doesn't matter. Here. Okay, there we go.
All of us got it in 4?
We got that in 4.
It's an ingredient. It's like an herb, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You know what
if
the
we-
word means?
If we were
Parsley,
no, it's
sage,
an herb. I said it's an
rosemary,
herb.
and
If we were chefs, we would thought of it
No,
earlier.
because
I
you're
don't
not gonna
cook.
pick a Y in the middle.
But we really appreciate the effort,
Yeah,
Jake.
this was great.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate your time.
Thanks for
guys.
coming.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jake Lewin. You're off the
CBY Spotlight.